Why Reliance? We are one of the largest private sector groups in India, deeply committed to India as well as two capital markets. Just to give you one highlight, India is a very large country. Out of every 8 Indians, one of them is our customer back home, in one thing or the other. As I said, we are the largest asset manager back home, and this has to be one point which I want to highlight here. We are a homegrown largest asset management company with no strategic tie-up with any other asset manager in the world. This needs to be taken into account more seriously because everyone who matters in the investment world is present in India. Whether it is Fidelity, whether it is Capital International, whether it is JP Morgan, everyone who matters. And they have years of experience of managing assets around the world. We have not only competed with them, but we have remained number one over the last 4 to 5 years, not only in terms of AUM, but also in terms of our performance over this time frame. How did we produce the first slide which I told you? And this is where I want to invest 7-8 minutes which are left. See, when you go to any country, you can buy either an index fund or an ETF or an offshore fund. But the real story in a country which is developing and which has a promise, like what I showed you, the real story is really being able to identify companies ahead of crowd, ahead of time, and bet against the tide. And that is where you make real disproportionate money. So we have focused ourselves. First, we convinced ourselves that making index return is not good enough in a country which is growing at 8-9%. Second was to develop our own unique philosophy of identifying these companies, monitoring these companies, and being convinced, being invested, even when they give you 100-200% return. Let me show you some of our investments which we have made already and which we hold. This is a company in which we hold roughly 9.5% of the equity. And this has been with us for last 7 years. We have held 9.5% for last 7 years in a row. If you can see, index has given 600% return. This is a company which has given 3,000% return. Now, this is a company which is not to be seen in any ETF. This is not a company which will be seen in any MSCI weightage. But a guy who invested only $2 million in the business makes close to more than $100 million of cash every year. His original investment in 1995-96 was only $2 million. This is a more familiar name. One of the largest companies in US. But again, look at the return differential which is possible. This is one retail stock in which we own 7-8%. Again, domestic retail play and someone who has no tie-up, not a Walmart, not a Walt Disney, nothing. It's a homegrown company and growing at a rate of more than 50%. So I have 5-6 minutes more. What I want to tell all of you is, it is about being able to identify the right asset manager and be convinced on the country and not get really bothered about the headlines which are made occasionally. Like most of you must have read that there is a scam going on in India. What is this scam? There's nothing, if a country where there are a billion people and if it is growing at 8.5-9%, you can't expect all the billion people to behave. There will be some bad element and they will have their own short-term objective. They will have their own short-term goals. But does that put the whole country at risk? It doesn't put the whole country at risk at all. And does the opportunity evaporate because we are going through a period when there is some kind of a scam in one sector or few individuals have become bad? it doesn't make the country as a whole as a bad investment destination. When you read about, because you guys are so far away, when you read about onion prices being at 100 rupees a kg, you clearly get disturbed. That is it something very sustainable? Is there a huge inflation risk which is cropping up in India? Is there a policy failure which has happened? And it is, if I was sitting here and if I had invested back home in any fund, I would have been equally concerned. But the point which I'm trying to make, in our experience of last 15 years of investing, actually this creates a disproportionately large opportunity for investments, because these are things which are not structural in nature. You will not have a 100 rupee per kg onion price forever. If that is what is making headlines and that is what is making people nervous, then that is a time for you to go and look at opportunity, because the whole world will be on the other side. So in any emerging market, particularly in India, because there is 1 billion people, there are 30 states, there are 5,000 politicians, there are 40 news channels, even a dog of a politician dies, it is being shown on a television. So that is democracy, and that is the freedom to press back home. And sometimes it creates the disproportionate panic in the minds of investors who are sitting really far away, and they end up losing their investment. What I'm trying to say is, if you have faith, first is the faith in the overall emerging markets. Is your model right, that you believe that the growth is shifting away from developed markets to emerging markets? That is number one. Number two is, do you believe that within emerging markets, India and China will have more structural growth versus the other emerging markets which are there in the fray? Third, after having even identified, if your weight is only 2 or 3%, how much can it swing the overall portfolio? And this is where the biggest flaw in our system is. Like, I observe how people invest mirroring MSCI and how they weight their portfolio mirroring MSCI. Now, when the company becomes large, obviously that will have a more weightage in MSCI, and more people will tend to invest into those companies once they become large. But what my point is, the biggest and the best return are being made not when the companies have already become large, but when they are in the process of becoming large. And at least we betted on these companies when they have not become large enough to get reflected in MSCI. Similarly, when India becomes a $5 trillion economy or a $5 trillion market cap, clearly there will be a significant more weightage to India and to other emerging markets versus it is today. But by then, the best of the returns which are to be best of the return to be made would have already been made. So these are the pertinent questions which you need to answer. A, are you convinced about the overall emerging market story? Are you convinced about the India story? And are you only putting 3 or 5% of your overall allocation into overall emerging market? That too through ETFs, that too through people, without mentioning name and without being offensive to anyone. If there is a person who is investing, he is a big international name. He is investing money from India, from London to India, and the portfolio manager goes only twice or thrice in India, goes for 2 days, and he expects to meet 8 companies per day, and he expects to be a superstar in that kind of investing. That is not possible. I think with 40 people on the ground doing only India, doing only Indian companies, we still feel we don't have time. So we struggle in our mind how someone can do justice just by coming to a country 2-3 times in a year and invest billions of dollars. So I think you have to choose the right partner, and in synergies, identification is like our identification of a mid-cap companies. Because we believe they are small, they are hungry, they mean serious business, and we had an option to go with any top name out here. But we chose InSynergy because we think that they will be able to seed this market consistently. We are here for a very long haul, because it is only a matter of time before most of you will get convinced that the developing market is the way to invest and make more money. Until the time, we have all the patience in the world to keep coming, keep speaking to you, keep convincing you, and maybe take this 3% to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 10. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It was great talking to you. Thank you.